Let me know when you're ready, Steve. Okay, we'll call the special meeting of the Pipestone City Council to order for June 13th, 2024. Could I get a roll call, please?
Dan Delaney,
Here.
Scott Swanson,
Here.
Verdine Kolbeck.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Well, thank you. And on our agenda, we have a presentation from Holly Larson, RTCA planner, and that's the only item on our agenda. So Holly, you're joining us on Zoom, and welcome. I will turn the meeting over to you at this point.
Holly, I'll make you the host. Okay. Yep, I will make you the host if I can get rid of my hand. There we go. There you go.
Oh, are you seeing that presentation?
We are.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm an outdoor recreation planner with the Rivers Trails and Conservation Assistance Program. And what I wanted to do today is first give you a brief summary of what RTCA is. And then I'll describe a few of the previous projects in which I worked in Pipestone. And then I'll go into what RTCA staff do in more detail. And then I've got a project example for you. And I want to explain a little bit about the benefits of doing a master plan, and then some potential roles for RTCA staff in the Hiawatha Pageant part of this project. So is the screen moving forward? No.
No.
All right, see if this works. There we go. Is that moving forward? There we go. Okay, so here are the people on our staff that we have lined up to work on this project. I would be the project lead and an outdoor recreation planner. I'm based in St. Paul. I've worked for this program for almost 24 years now. All around Minnesota and with some projects in the Dakotas and Wisconsin as well. Kat Schiffler is a landscape architect. She is based in Omaha. She's been with the program maybe 4 or 5 years. And she brings all sorts of graphic design and park planning skills and concept designing skills. Chris Morgan is a community planner. He's been with our program for a couple of years now, and he's based in Duluth, and he has GIS mapping skills. And then Chris Rowan Soldier, he is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and he's in a kind of internship program with us, and he's an Ancestral Lands Fellow. So I'll start with describing what our mission is for the federal government, and that's to implement the second half of the National Park Service mission, and that is Park Service cooperates with partners to extend the benefits of natural and cultural resource conservation and outdoor recreation throughout this country and the world. So we work on community assistance in outdoor recreation and conservation in this country. Not in the world, unfortunately. And I work for the regional office. I don't work for any specific park unit. we are programmed within the region. And this is a map of our region with the locations of our staff offices. We're a tiny program within the Park Service. We've got about 10 full-time staff in the Midwest region, and then some interns and a few temporary staff. So the gist of the RTCA program is that we're a community assistance program. We have an annual application process, and we work only where we're invited. So communities, it could be local government, a nonprofit, a county government, a partnership among those things. Apply for our assistance, and then we review applications, and then grant partners to be within our program for a year at a time. So we provide staff time and planning and landscape architecture expertise mostly, and that's at no cost to our local partners. So we're paid through a salary from the National Park Service for working on projects outside of Park Service boundaries. And in fact, a lot of our projects are not even close to a national monument you have, or park, or any kind of national park unit. A lot of our projects, they could be anywhere in the country. So projects are locally led, and our staff provides suggestions and recommendations, which you can take or leave. And the decisions are made by the applicant for the project leader at the local level. So just to give you a broad overview of the program, who can apply, just about any local group, even an informal one, local governments, tribal governments. We do sometimes work with state and federal agencies as well. But we have only a few requirements to be a part of our program, and that's that there must be a public engagement process. And then if we're working on something that will be on the ground, it must be something that will eventually be open to the public when completed. It could be like a private park that would just be open to members. And again, we provide staff time, not funding. We do work for 1 year at a time, but it's possible to extend that to 2 and sometimes even 3 years on the same project. So the city of Pipestone applied this year. Our deadline is March 1st, and then we went through a review process, and the project was accepted in May. So I was delighted to be able to work in Pipestone with Deb and some other community members 3 different times in the past. I started with RTCA in 2000, and in 2003 to 2005, I was requested through the Friends of the Casey Jones Trail to help with the Casey Jones Trail Master Town Plan, and that's how I got acquainted with people in Pipestone, helping with that project. And so I helped with the trail route planning, with community meetings, outreach materials, including a brochure, and then getting the master plan done and through all the approval processes, working with the Minnesota DNR staff. And then I came back at the request of the city, and we worked from 2008 to 2010 on some more bicycle and pedestrian planning. And one of the things we did was we found out about a Blue Cross Blue Shield active living program that provided multiple years of funding through kind of arduous application process. They only selected something like 8 communities in the state for this one-time opportunity. And I worked with community members there in Pipestone. We put in an application and were successful to get it. Through that project, the Pipestone Active Living Partnership was formed. You got the grant for the multi-year active living. We were able to hire a staff for I'm not sure how many years, for a few years there, through that grant fund. We conducted a walkability audit with a lot of volunteers from the city. We worked on an action plan. There were training sessions for local partners to build across. We also worked on trailhead design for the Casey Jones Trail. And then a lot of work on trying to find where good routes would be for connecting bicycle and pedestrian destinations throughout the city, including, I believe at that time, also worked on the Safe Routes to School grant and got a small trail built to your school there, high school. And then there were also a number of community events, including the opening of the paved portion of the Casey Jones Trail. In fact, I've got some, which was a wonderful event. I've got some photos from that event in this presentation. In 2015 to 17, I came back and worked again at the request of the city and worked on the Phase 3 Indian Lakes Trail. We had a lot to figure out on that short segment of trail, working with the community college and with Good Sam's and trying to figure out how we could get a trail aligned in that segment. So we were successful. I believe we put in 2 different applications. We were successful on one, and then we were able to get the trail built with grant from the Department of Transportation recently because of that application we put in 5 years ago or so. So we also worked on some preliminary trail planning for Phase 4. So that's the last time I was engaged with the city. And I'll go into a bit just about more generally what our program staff do. So we have a number of different project types we work on, including parks, new park development, park renovations, park system planning, pocket parks, all different sizes, from small urban parks to big regional parks, and various types of outdoor recreation development. And I've done a number of projects on trails in Minnesota, from state trails to small connecting trails. So we work on accessible paved trails, natural surface trails, trailheads, trail system planning for bigger areas, and water trails too. We also help some communities and organizations with organizational development. Sometimes it's just an informal group that comes to us for assistance, and we help them figure out how they can be a sustainable group in order to get their goal accomplished. Oftentimes to build a trail system or build a park. So we can help them with their team building and partnership building, some aspects of nonprofit development, helping them figure out how they could own and operate a park, for example, into the future, helping them look at different options. And we work on engaging youth projects too. We also work on some conservation projects. Oftentimes, there's a bit of conservation elements in a park or trail project. But sometimes they're standalone projects for habitat conservation or shoreline restoration, and some extreme weather preparedness. So what we do on those project types can really vary depending on what we're asked to do by the local community and where the gaps are in their own capacities. So we can do strategic planning, more comprehensive master planning, conceptual and trail site design, We can do some project planning and management and meeting facilitation. These are examples in the pictures here of projects I worked on around the state. As I mentioned, we help with organizational capacity building sometimes, developing project teams and developing partnerships, bringing in new partners who may be able to provide some free or low cost assistance if there's a particular need on a project. We often end up collaborating with various levels of government and help communities do that. We also can do some GIS mapping and analysis. Oftentimes route development and for permitting purposes, we do environmental analysis. And we can also help with community engagement, building public support, building political support, and finding funding. There are a number of different common grants used for trail and park development at the state and federal levels that I've worked with a lot and can help guide communities through the application process for some of those. So I have one example. Should I stop there and see if you have any questions? Do you want me to just continue and have questions at the end?
Any questions from anyone? I don't see any, Holly. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I've got an example here, a more recent example I worked on a couple of years ago. This is in Becker County, and I worked with the city of Frazee and the township and the North Country Trail Association. So this was a proposed park for 175 acres on land that was for sale that the city wanted to take advantage of and turn into a park. So this is a project that wanted to get the regional significance designation, like your community is talking about for Hiawatha Pageant Park. So I helped them through the process for that. So we determined what the regional significance would be. In that case, it was going to be a location where a state water trail, a state hiking biking trail, and national natural surface hiking trail were going to all meet. And they wanted to put a campground there and attract people to that area that would be using one of those three trails. So that was their regional significance. So we applied for the regional significance and we worked through the master plan process. The state, if you want that designation, had a number of very specific requirements that you need to include in the master plan in order for them to consider it. So we worked through the process with them. These are some of the elements. Most of those are required to get that regional significance designation, which is through the state's Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission.
Holly, can I interrupt for a moment? Jamie Doubleday would like to enter the meeting and I can't do it because you have control. Can you admit him?
I don't see anything except in my presentation. Let's see. Well, if I get out of this, we'll see if I can get back. I don't see anybody wanting to do it.
He said Zoom looks to be waiting for city to accept me into the meeting. And I can't do it.
This is, oh, here's Jamie.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay, let's see if I can get that too. Okay, are you seeing the slide?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so this is a sample master plan that went through the GMR ETC review process. And this group was successful in getting that designation. And the master plan was approved. So what I did was help them. They were really starting from scratch, just with a great idea for this park, not knowing where to start. So I helped them with some team and partnership building. We did a lot of community engagement. I helped them find funding sources at various stages of the project. We had to find some organization to take the lead on park ownership and management. And that took actually a couple of years to work through. We were working first with the city and the county. The county decided no, they didn't want to take it on, so a nonprofit stepped up to fundraise and take on the management of the park once it's developed. So we help them look at their options and try to determine who might be willing to do that ownership and management. So working with the different layers of government there, with the county, the city, the township, something we helped with. And then the concept planning graphics I did, and that's what you're seeing there in the photo. We also had a landscape architect on our team at the time who created this nice rendering of what the trail and water trail and land trail would look like. And that's something that we could do for Hiawatha Pageant Park to capture tourist skilled at that kind of thing. So these are the successes from that project. We had a master plan adopted by 3 different entities, the city, the township, and the nonprofit board. It obtained the regional significance status. We had a committed owner, the city, and manager, the nonprofit. I helped them get some funding. We had to get temporary funding for acquisition when the landowner got impatient. So we got some temporary funding from the Minnesota Parks and Trails Council, and then we got permanent funding from the state, Environmental and Natural Resources Trust Fund funding. And the site is open for walking and a boat launch, and the local group has hired a design contractor and fundraised for that. And I helped them work out a grant for decide what they wanted to do for first phase of habitat restoration as well, by pulling in some county soil and water and DNR staff and others to help with that, make that determination. So that's my example project that went through the GMRTCP planning process. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the benefits of creating a master plan. So your application to us said that you want to create a master plan for the Hiawatha Pageant Park. And so you may be wondering, why do we need a master plan? So a plan is really just a set of ideas in written and graphic form that's agreed to by individuals, organizations, and or governments. That's just my definition, but kind of simplifies the idea. It's just you're taking your ideas and you're agreeing on them, and then you're writing them down. So the plan helps everyone get on the same page about what the future of the park should be. So you may think that everybody's in agreement about what that should be, but when you get down to the details, there's often we'll often need to work that out. What exactly do you want to see on where? And then, so a plan is a policy document that can also be reviewed by the public. Once you get things in written and graphic form, it's easier for them to understand. and people are seeing the same version of it then too. And then it can be formally adopted, and then it's an official government policy document, really. And why is that a good idea? For funding, basically, that is one of the biggest reasons for doing that. The Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission requires a master plan to be eligible for about $6 million annually of grant funding if you get the regional significance designation. The amount they have available varies by year, but it's a substantial amount compared to other grant sources. And it's a bit of jumping through hoops to get the regional significance designation and do the master plan to their specifications. But most communities have found that it's worthwhile because there's a very limited pool of candidates that are eligible for that annual funding. So even if you don't get the regional designation, or if you decide not that you don't want to try for it, it can help you get some other funding as well. So an adopted master plan would get you extra points in applying for many other state and federal grants. The Land and Water Conservation Fund is the federal one that DNR administers. So that's important to have an adopted plan for that one and for many of the state grants as well. Some of them do require an adopted plan, and some just would like to see that you have one and would give you extra consideration or extra points if you do. And then another important reason is that once you have a detailed plan, or at least at the conceptual level, then you can get a cost estimate, a high-level estimate, and you can use that for budgeting and for fundraising. Most of the grants that you use for park and trail development require some match. So oftentimes local governments will set aside a bit of their own budget to help with the match, but then also go out to private funding sources to try to raise the gap in the matching requirement for these state and federal grant sources. So I wanted to summarize that what we do is we work at your direction. Our role is limited to what you ask us to do. And all decisions are made by the process that you decide. Oftentimes, when a partner has decided to have a committee look at or to work on the project, then in one of our first meetings, we'll discuss and determine how the decisions are to be made within that committee, such as a vote or consensus or something in between. And then also we discuss which official committees and councils the project would need to go to as well. So usually for a city project, it would go to a parks commission and then would go to your city council. So all those decisions are yours. So we can guide and facilitate you through a planning process. As I said, I have worked on the master plan process for the GRPTC requirements with the Wannaget Park project that I showed you, but I also worked on probably 4 other master plans through that same process. So we provide suggestions and recommendations based on our own park and trail planning experience, and it's up to you whether you want to take those recommendations or decide to do something else. So community engagement that includes a diversity of participants must be part of the process in order to be in our RTCA program, or a program partner for us. And I mentioned that earlier, but I just wanted to emphasize that that's just basically one of the two requirements we have, the community engagement and that it be open to the public when it's done. And what we don't do, we don't force community partners to design parks in any certain way. We have no intention of taking over the property. We work with communities for a year or two or three, and then we leave and we move on to other projects. So it's your process and your project the whole way through, and you'll be the ones to implement and manage it once we leave. We don't usually have a formal contract or agreement for our partnership with our partner communities. So it's more in the form of a work plan that ends up to be a letter that I would send you once we work on out generally what our goal will be of the project. And so really the partnership can be terminated at any time by you or by us if things aren't working. So that's all I have for you today.
Okay. Any questions for Holly then after the presentation's been completed by council members or anyone in the audience?
Or on Zoom, Jamie.
Yeah,
Forget about
I
Jamie.
have Tom here is indicating he wanted. Yeah, Tom, if you want to come up and speak into the microphone so Holly can hear you.
Hi, Holly. My name is Tom Steffes, and I'm on the Hiawatha Pageant Park Commission. And I have you guys done? Have you led an RTCA project adjacent to a sacred site before? You said sometimes. You said it's common that you don't do one even near a national park site, and I'm wondering if you've done one before next to a sacred site such as the Pipestone National Monument.
One that comes to mind is the city of Rochester. I worked on a master plan for the Indian Heights Park, which the park, it was a portion of the park itself that was a sacred site. So I helped the community gather a team of neighbors and indigenous representatives, urban Dakota folks, to decide what to happen with that park. And they all, everybody involved agreed on a design for the park. And it was adopted by the city of Rochester. Another one would be a park in St. Paul, a couple along the Mississippi River. And the park sites themselves were not sacred, but the island just offshore was. So we worked on updating the master plans that were 50 years old for those parks.
Thank you. Do you have of the groups you've worked with or the other groups you've seen, their master plans? How complicated or simple have some of them been? Relatively simple. The master plans.
Well, the GMI PTC has very specific requirements for what you have to address. They don't know how you have to address them, but they have 20 or more elements that you must include. So they are among the more complicated ones, the ones that want to go through that process, just because there's such specific requirements for data gathering on a regional level and analysis.
Thank you. I took a look at the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission guidebook. It's, I don't know, 50 pages or so, and you had said to kind of look for the special circumstances because our park generally would not qualify for the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission's regional park status because we're too small of a park. And when you had said that, we might have a chance of applying and getting the regional park status as a kind of a special situation, but when I was reading through the guidelines, it looked like a lot of the special circumstances are more for accessibility issues, and it didn't look like it was. I had a tough time seeing where our park would fit into the special circumstances, and so it made it seem like the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission regional park status might be quite a long shot for us, and that maybe.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and that maybe the right now the Hiawatha Pageant Park has been steadily getting better and better, I think, over time. And the city and Hiawatha Pageant Park Commission and the Pipestone Area Community Foundation and tons of private donations have continued to grow this park and improve it. And so I wasn't sure if I saw the value in trying to attain the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission regional park status, if it's a long shot, if it's something that we've got an excellent shot at, maybe it is. But if it's a long shot, it seems like maybe this process is not something that we want to go through just for something that we'd have an outside chance at.
Yeah, and that's something that needs further discussion, but there have been parks, it's not just accessibility they're looking at for those special status parks. There could be a number of different things. Horse park, there's um, parks with unique features for recreation for a number of different reasons. So I think a good next step would be to get the staff from the GMRPC to attend the next or a meeting soon of the park planning committee, and we could hear from them more about what they're looking for that designation. Just in the site review visit that we had after our last meeting, the next day where Justin showed us around, it sounded like there were a lot, there might be a few possibilities of significance, including that it was the site for the pageant for the next 60 years. So that may be enough to get you regional designation. Another thing that might be a possibility is the current big picture use of the amphitheater there and the setting. If you could make the argument, if you had programming that was of a regional draw in the future. So if you plan, so it doesn't have to be something that you have on the ground right now. It could be something that you're planning to develop that gives it its significance. So I did look at the last regional significance application that the city submitted, and there wasn't all that much detail in it. So I think there's an opportunity to put a lot more detail in about the history of the park, and also need to do some more analysis on argue or tell about how the park had attracted tourists from such a large region in the region of the state, but I take it from beyond that as well. And then what you plan on doing in the future to attract at least a regional draw from counties around you. It doesn't have to be as large of a draw as the original pageant had, but maybe you want to, and maybe you're already doing that with the programming there now, so as my opinion is that it's not a long shot, but we need to do some more talking about, what, what you want to, emphasize as the element of regional significance and, what you want to develop to have a regional draw in the future. And then we could have the GMRPTC staff come and explain, more thoroughly what they're looking for. And then even if you decide not to go for that, it's still a good idea to do a master plan. As I mentioned, it'll help you get other grants, besides the GMRPTC.
Well, the last question I have for you is, do you or the RTCA have plans for our park?
No, we don't have plans for, no. We don't walk into our projects with an idea of what we want to see there. Our job is to guide you through a decision-making process so you get what you want in your park or trail.
Your answer, when you've done some terrific work in the past for our community, but in this instance, I don't know if I can opine or not, if I'm just limited to questions, or if I can give any opinions. Is it okay to talk freely?
You have the podium,
Okay,
Tom.
thank you. The reason I'm asking is because at our Hiawatha Pageant Park Commission meeting at the end of February, I had asked our local superintendent if she had plans for our park, and she said no. And but then shortly after the application was submitted for this RTCA assistance, there was a letter of commitment in there from the superintendent that showed that she seems to have put a lot of thought about what she would like to see in our park, and does not, none of them mention the trails or the amphitheater or any of those things that the rest of us were thinking we were going to improve the park with. And instead, the focus, I feel a little bit that the RTCA, you've said it today, you said it at the last meeting that we had as a group, that and if it's focusing a lot on making sure that stakeholders are involved. And in this instance, being next to the national park site, it makes me nervous because they clearly have an opinion of what we should be doing, and none of it involves improving our park with trails or amphitheaters. So I'm not sure. It was recommended, this process was recommended by the superintendent of the National Park Service here in Pipestone. And that makes me nervous because when someone says they don't have any plans for our park, but they clearly do, and this is the recommended process that we go through, and it's recommended by them, to me, I guess, I heard you say, that the projects are locally led, but you guys would be leading the process, and also that all decisions will be made by the applicant. But what I'm afraid of is that the RTCA process is going to limit the decisions that we can make. Yes, maybe we'll be able to make the decisions, but the options that we're going to be given are going to be limited by the process. And you also said that we could, end the process at any time. And my personal recommendation, as I can't speak for the Hiawatha Pageant Park Commission because we have not had a meeting since we've gotten to meet with the RTCA. And unfortunately, because, we only had, a couple days notice before this meeting, most of the members can't be here. But I would recommend that just the city council, because I know you guys are meeting soon, probably are seeking input. My recommendation would be that we exit the process with the RTCA and go back to planning the park the way we've been doing, and see if we can find someone else to help us put a master plan together, and the RTCA would save us that cost, but we don't know for sure exactly what that cost would be, and it might not be as bad as we fear. So I just want you guys to know as a city council that I would recommend that we exit the relationship with the RTCA. And I don't think I've got anything else.
Answer some of it.
Sure.
Yeah, the only letter that I saw from the Parks and Recreation superintendent that was included in the application to our TCA was a brief letter of 1 page that didn't go into any detail about any plans or designs for the park. That I did review with the superintendent, if you look at their general management plan online, they have no acquisition plans at all in the area, and certainly not for Hiawatha Pageant Park. In fact, the general management plan recognizes at that time the existence of the continuation of the pageant when that plan was written. So if you're referring to some other longer document, then I haven't seen it. And I do want to iterate that I don't work for the monument, and neither do any of my other staff on the RTCA program. And I've worked on since 2003 on various projects with the city, and I think others would attest that there were no designs to take over or have any undue influence from the Park Service. In fact, there's been 4 different superintendents there in the time that I worked on those various projects. So we work completely separately from them. And we will work with you at your desire. We don't have any skin in the game. It's just my job to help communities do this kind of thing. And if we can help you, we're more than happy to. We're not going to limit the decisions that can be made in any way. And I think, given my personal track record in Pipestone, that's been proven.
Holly, may I respond to that, Holly, or I don't want to overstep, but I'm not questioning you as in your leadership, but what I'm questioning is this process. You've made it very clear that stakeholders need to be involved in this process, but in my opinion, are the stakeholder next to us, the Pipestone National Monument. I don't think we're on the same page as they are based on the letter that she submitted. It doesn't say anything about acquisition, and I'm not worried about them trying to acquire the park, but I've shown this letter to several people, and everybody takes the same read on it, is that they don't like how we're managing our park, and they would like input on how we do it. And that's how her letter reads to me. It sounds like it reads differently to you, but to me, it reads that way. And so myself, I guess she's recommending that the RTCA lead the process. And I think it's because they want to make sure that they've got a lot of say in how we manage our park. And I guess my opinion would be that they can stay on their side of the property line, and they do a good job with their park, and we'll do a good job with our park. And that would be my recommendation to the city council, is that we leave the RTCA and the National Park Service to, they can manage their side of the property line, and we'll manage ours.
No decisions are going to be made tonight. This is for informational purposes only.
Well,
So,
yeah, and thank you, Tom. Appreciate your comments. And like Deb said, this is strictly a informational meeting tonight. Holly, thank you for your time and your presentation, and we'll be in touch. Is there anything further you'd like to add? Okay, all right. Is there any other questions or comments from the people in attendance or from the council? All right, hearing none. Or did you? No.
Ray, did you want to talk?
Did someone have their hand up back there? Okay, all right. So I didn't miss anyone. Okay. So hearing none, I would, there is no other business on the agenda. I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
I so move. Second.
It's been moved and seconded for adjournment. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Holly.
everyone.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Alan.